Hi there, Stampers. It's Linda Schmitt with Stampin' with the Hounds. Thanks for joining me today. I am going to be doing a fun fold today, and this one is a shadow box card. And there are many different ways to do the shadow box card. And I'm going to show you two different versions today. It's going to look the same, but it's how you assemble them that's a little bit different. So the first way that I'll do, it's like using two pieces of cardstock to basically make that full card on it. And as I've been doing these, because I am going to make this one one of the cards we're going to do today, we're also going to add a shaker to the inside of that shadow box to it. And so because you've got that shaker bit, you want to avoid getting too thick, because then it's going to add weight to your card. So I've been finding that if you're using our two-tone cardstock, it's a little bit lighter than our normal cardstock. So I do the shadow box part of the two-tone, and then the other part I'm doing in the cardstock. And then the second way that I'm going to show you is actually using one whole, or half a sheet, I should say, of two-tone cardstock to make your entire card. So I'm going to show you both ways of how to do that today. So these are just some of the samples that I've been kind of playing around with. And I've been trying to use up because, the annual catalog is going to be retiring here pretty soon. And we've got online exclusives that are now last chance. And so I've been trying to use up my supplies, basically. So I'm featuring a lot of things that are now in the last chance section of on the Stampin' Up! Website. One of those is going to be my favorite. It's a great masculine set. It's called Outdoor Adventure, and there are dies that go with it. So that's what we're going to be using today on the first card. And then I'm also using the Textured Notes dies. These are a great, I can't believe these are retiring. I use these all the time. But they're just a great rectangular die, and they've got like nice stitching, to kind of give a little bit of texture to it. So those are last chance as well. And then some of the other things that I'm going to be showing are the Light and Wonder. This was from our holiday mini, but it's now in the last chance. And these dies are amazing because you can do a tree line, you can do mountains, you've got the forest, you can do a lake. It's just lots of, it's another great set that kind of pairs with the exploring nature and some of the other masculine type, like outdoorsy stamp sets. And then I think one other item that I'm using is I think it's just the dies, because the stamp set's no longer available. But it was the Scenic Adventure. And these, again, you don't really need the stamp set. I mean, you can just do your whole scenery with these dies. It's got the mountains, grass, a little bit of like water, tree line, flowers, and then your pine trees and stuff. So it's another, the stamp set isn't available anymore, but the dies were still in that last chance. So make sure you check those out on the website. Like I said, just because there's some pretty good deals on there. But again, so this is one of them using the Outdoor Adventure. And then the paper I'm using, this is new. It is the Nature Walk Designer Series paper that is online exclusive on there. So that's kind of that one. And like I said, it's got that little shaker. Then I've got a little bit of 3D effect in there with a little mountain and my little fire. And then this one is that Celebratory Sips. This just went in last chance. So it's got the Designer Series paper, and there's also the stamp set and dies. And that will be the second one that we're going to use today. So this one I made into a shaker card as well. And then this is a new, just a kind of a sneak peek of what's coming out in March. Now I have to find it. It is, so yeah, it's this big strawberry, but it's got this really, this is kind of for scrapbooking, but I do use it for cards. But the die set has all this fruit that you can layer. So we're going to be playing around with this today too. So that's coming out in March. It was kind of fun. I always like to have some fruit on it. So there's that sample. And then here's another one using the Outdoor Adventure and the, Light and Wonder dies. So I kind of made a little scenery, my little fox. And then this one I did not do as a shaker card, but I am building up on that on the shadow box, you've got that little scenery in the background, so it's kind of fun. And then this is cardstock on both sides, so it doesn't get too thick on this one, and there's not much weight because, again, I didn't add a shaker to this one. And then here's another one that I did using the what is this one now? Friendly Foliage, which is another online exclusive, and this one is still current. This is a really pretty set, and then it's got coordinating dies that go with it. And I've done some tutorials with this set as well. And then, of course, I've got the little shaker card added in there, and this one. And so on this one, instead of, I did do a frame, if you can see it. So on the underside there, I just used one of the Texture Notes frames to kind of get that green frame onto it. And then the last ones here, these are all using, I think so these are all using 12 by 12 cardstock. So I'm just taking, and of course I don't have much for 12 by 12, so some of these are retired colors because I had to use what I had. But yeah, so this is going to use, so you can get 2 cards out of one sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock. So this is just a sample using one of our other newer sets that is an online exclusive, and this is that Greenery Lane. So it has a stamp set, and then there's coordinating dies that go with this as well. So that's another fun one to do. So here I did, and again, those arch dies, if you don't have them, those are a must-have. And then I did that linen background stamp here. And then on this one, I did another little shaker card, because I love my shaker cards. And then when I'm layering, because this is cardstock, I did do the two-tone cardstock for here, then kept, just my designer series paper, and then I kept my front fairly thin, just because, again, with that shaker, I didn't want to build up too much bulk when you go to mail it. So that's another one. And then here I did some of that, what do they call it? The blacked out technique, where you kind of sponge your colors on your cardstock first. Or you run it through an embossing folder, sponge your colors on, and then you do a brayering over with that dark color. That's kind of a fun technique that's been really popular. So this one's all cardstock again. And then this one, I just did some pattern paper in the background. And then this is going to be two-tone cardstock. And then I am using over some of the leftover strips from my designer series paper. So you can kind of decorate the sides with it and stuff. So here again, I'm kind of building on my shadow box. I put something on the back here. And then I'm also adhering kind of like behind. You can see it there, where I've kind of put it right behind to kind of give it that 3D look on it. So fun, love it. And then this was using another Last Chance set. This was the, now I can't find it, but that one, I don't know where it's at. I don't know where the stamp set is. But this one, so instead of doing a shadow box, I took some window strips because I had some scraps laying around. And so I put my little ladybugs on there so it looks like they're flying. So that's another kind of fun way of doing your shadow box on it. And there's that one. So I'm so ready for spring. We've had like 50 degrees weather lately, and then of course it'll drop. Winter's not over yet here in Minnesota, but it's been feeling like spring lately. And then here's another one using some of that Timeless Plaid, and that's in the Last Chance designer series paper. And here I just did a little bit of I put some little ferns kind of like attached to the frame, and then the other ones are on the back of the base. And again, this one's all cardstock as well, so it's not too bulky. But like I said, I found, because I wanted to see using what the two-tone cardstock, so the whole base is two-tone. And so I did do cardstock here just to give me a little bit of stability. And then I did do, for my shaker card, this back piece, that lemon lime twist, that is cardstock. Just because I wanted to give it a little bit more stability, because like I said, the two-tone cardstock is not as thick as our regular cardstock. So we're going to get started. Like I said, we're going to do 2 versions today. So what you're going to do, the first one we're going to do is actually, let's see here. We'll do the one with using the 2 pieces of cardstock to make it. So for that one, you are going to need So what you're doing is you're basically taking, like I said, 2 pieces. So this one, that is that 5.5 by 5.25. I'm going to use that. That's my 2-tone cardstock because I want it to be a little bit thinner so I don't have as much bulk because we're adding a shaker card to this one. So hold on here, I got to make sure I'm going the right way. Yeah, this is the 5.25, and that's the side you're going to score on, is the 5.25. And then the 5.5 is the other way. And so that piece, that is what we're calling, that's going to be becomes our shadow box when we score it. Then the other piece is cardstock, and this one is 5.5 by 8. And again, this is going to be attached onto it, and then it's going to close shut with it. So it's not quite, it's not 8.25, it's going to be that 8 inches. We're still scoring at 4.25 though. All right, and then whatever you want, on the front, for your designer series paper, that would just be 4 by 5.25, or whatever you want to do on your front. My front, I'm just going to be building up a scenery with it. And then this piece in here can either be a layered cardstock, and that would be 3.5 by 5.25. And then the DSP that is on your shadow box, that is 3.5 by 5.25. And then you need some dies. And so you can either have your dies be a layering piece where you do two of them to kind of get that framed. So we'll do that on the second one. Or you can just stick with just one die, which we're going to do on this one, just to cut out our rectangle. And then that piece that comes out, you can use it either, on the front, you can, or for another project, because you can reuse it on there. All right, so let's get our scoring done. So let me get this out of the way. All right, so the card base is the actual cardstock. And this was that 5.5 by 8. And so on the 8-inch side, we are going to score at 4.25. And then this shorter section, this is what I say that, I just got to make sure I'm saying that. Yes, that is the side that the shadow box is going to attach to. So the normal, like 5.5 by 4.25, that needs to stay on the left-hand side because that is what's going to be your card front. So the smaller section is what the shadow box attaches onto. So now for our shadow box, again, this was, make sure I'm at the right side. So yeah, so 5.25 this way, and then 5.5 long. And so we want to stay on that 5.25 inch side. And again, this is 2-tone cardstock. So depending on, let's see here, I may want a little bit of contrast. So I'm going to have the lighter side. So we're on the 5.25, and we want to score at a 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and then you're going to go to 4 3/4. Okay, and that is it for the scoring. Fairly simple. Then now we need to make our window for our shadow box. So on this one, I was going to do just a rectangle. So when this comes together, you want where the 2 1/2 inch sections, those always stay on your right hand side. this single 1/2 inch section, that's where the tape is going, and that is what is attaching to the card itself on it. So we're going to put tear and tape here just so that we don't confuse ourselves. And we'll just leave the backing on for now, but it's just there so that we know that that's the side that attaches to the inside of the card. And so these will all be mountain folds. And then we'll fold these in and fold in. And it'll come in like that. Okay? All right, so now we want to make our window, and I will show you on the second one like how I did getting the 2 layers. So you're doing like the designer series paper is using the larger die, and then when you do your window in your shadow box, that's using the smaller die. So we'll do that on our second one. But on this one, I was just doing a straight, just a single die just to get this rectangle. So I always just kind of eyeball it to make sure you're somewhat centered, and then I use some low tack tape just to hold the die in place so it doesn't shift on me when I run it through the die cutter. All right, so we'll get our die cutter. Kind of zoom out here. Whoops. There we go. So you can see a little bit better. And sometimes, like on these larger dies, I do run it through the machine at an angle. It just kind of helps with the die cutting. So we'll just kind of keep this at a somewhat of an angle. And we'll run that through. And then that, I believe, is because I got everything else die cut. So like I said, you can reuse this piece. So now on this die, this is those textured notes dies, so it does a little bit of texture on the edge, but when it cuts, it just does a straight rectangle on it. We can zoom back in here. So we can save that centerpiece for another, we can use it, probably use it on the front or another project, but you can reuse it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get this somewhat assembled. All right, and then we're going to do our little shaker box. So like I said, I had already, just to kind of save on time, I already die cut a bunch of things. So again, these are all from the Textured Notes stamp set, or die set. So I'm going to use that. That's like one of the larger ones. I think second to largest probably. Yeah, second to largest one. So I'm going to do that on my inside. And then I did do a little scenery. And these are from that Scenic Adventure dies. And then a little bit of the Light and Wonder as well. I kind of have a combination of these. All right, so since this is going to be a shaker card, oh, now where'd my piece of plastic go? I thought I had it sitting here. Hold on. Where did it go? All right, hopefully I have another sheet here. Maybe. Oh, I do. Hopefully this will fit. Yeah. So when I do my flat shaker boxes, I just use, when you get your designer series paper or, you know, any of your like specialty paper, I keep some of that plastic. Just make sure that when you're cutting it that you avoid any holes. My first one I didn't realize there was like a little hole. And yeah, I'm like, why is the sequence falling out of my card? I'm like, oh yeah, because there's a hole on it. So, but we are going to build a little bit of scenery in our background. So this is going to be coming in, just so you can visualize it here. This is going to be our shadow box. We're going to have this to the base of the card. Then I'm going to take, so I already took these dies and die cut them because I'm going to just attach them to the inside of my card. So I'm kind of getting that little 3D effect. And then I'll put those trees on here along with my cloud and my sun. And then we'll add our shaker pieces in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue this on, and I'm just going to use some liquid glue. Let's see here, I just want to make sure. Yeah, so I'm going to flip this over, and I'm just going to run glue here on the bottom so that my trees, and this is Mossy Meadow two-tone cardstock, and then I did the Mossy Meadow cardstock on my trees that I die cut. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive or glue here just to hold the trees on the side, and then a little bit there just to hold it in place. So we're kind of working from the back side of the card. All right, so now that's attached. And then let's build up our little scenery before we put our shaker bits in. So this is from that Nature's Walk Designer Series paper. So it kind of looks like a sky. It's got that little brush, kind of cool like brush stroke things. I think it's really pretty. And then these clouds I think were from the Scenic Journey. And then I just used a circle punch that I had on hand for my little son. And I think this was about 3/4 of an inch circle punch. So we'll do something like that. Glue our clouds. And then, like I said, you can, you know, you can pop these up on dimensionals if you want, but since we're doing a shaker card, it's like I'm already adding bulk. So I don't want to get too bulky here. And then this is going to kind of come in. So this is where I kind of hold my shaker frame. So I kind of know what it's going to be looking like. And I'm thinking these, I'm actually going to attach those on top of the shaker box when I get done. I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, so now let's make our shaker box. So again, I just took a piece of plastic. I'm trying to see if you can see this here. Maybe if I put it on the cardstock. Is that going to show up better? Yeah, so you kind of want to pick your frame. This is probably a little bit too big of plastic, but I'll trim it down. And then you're just going to trim off the angles. I'm going to cut at an angle for each of the sides. And then it's just wrapping it like a present, basically. So we're going to just trim the corners off. And then if you want, you know, sometimes I like to add, you know, some gems like already on here, you know, to stick them on, but I don't really have anything handy right now. Unless I have, let's see here. I think these are just extra. Yeah, I don't really have anything that'll work, so we'll just tape this. We're going to flip it over, And you are just going to now make a little pouch. So just get out your tape and just put the tape on the designer series paper or the cardstock, and then fold this in. So you're going to do 3 sides, then add your shaker bits, and then you close it up. But yeah, this is like the easiest way to make a little flat shaker. All right, so now that we've got our pouch, basically, you can then take your shaker bits. I'm using some of the stars. These are on the last chance. I just got these today, and my order finally came. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of these into my little tray here. And then I just kind of temporarily close it, and I kind of just give it a little shake and just see, do I need to add more? But I think that's pretty good. So I don't want to get too bulky. And then we'll just close it up. And then because this is plastic, I do tend to use the tear and tape, just to attach this then to the card base, just so that it doesn't come off. Okay, fun. All right, so we're on the shorter edge. And again, like I just kind of spot check it a little bit just to see before I press it down really hard. I want to make sure that it's centered. So that's going to go there. I can move this over just a little bit, because we don't want to go too far over, because on the other, so I said we do tear and tape here, and then we also do tear and tape on the very outside 1/2 inch edge. Because that piece is going to get attached to here. This piece gets attached to the left flap of the card. So knowing that this is on here, when this comes up, then I can see. So I'm going to attach this so that I can see so this isn't really pressed down really hard, but I'm going to take this off just so that I can see where I need to be. So here I just make sure, so I fold it down, and then I'm keeping this folded edge to the edge of my back side of my card base. So now that is attached, and now I can kind of see. That looks pretty good. So I can go ahead and press this down. And then I am going to just, this is pretty flat, so I am going to do a little bit of dimensionals on my trees here. And I'll attach these on top of that plastic. That's why I'm kind of using the dimensionals. And I'll probably need another smaller one. That should be good. Yeah, I meant to do this video, recording it. I just, all last week I did not sleep well, and I don't know if I was fighting a cold or allergies. I don't know what, but I was just too tired to do a video or anything. Just was not, kind of in a funk. All right, so let's have this be, yeah, I think right about there. Let's tape those down. I don't want that foam showing through. All right, so there is our shaker. Cute, love it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and attach the left side. And so this is where sometimes, depending on how you folded, you may need to trim just a titch off of this if it doesn't want to fold, you know, it closed, but this one looks pretty good, so I don't have to trim it. So keeping this folded in, I'm just going to close my card front on top of it, and then just give that a good press just to make sure our shadow box is held in place. So isn't that easy? Super fun. Cute, cute, cute. All right, and then I had already, oh, there's my plastic. I'm like, I knew I cut it. All right, so over here, oh yeah, I forgot I was going to add some of that, but oh well. We're going to go ahead and put this on the inside. And at this point, I'll probably just leave this one, unless I've got something stamped already, because I'm not quite sure if I need birthday or if it's going to be a thank you. So again, this is just that textured note die. Otherwise, this piece here, if you wanted to do a full cardstock or designer series paper, that section would be the 3.5 by 5 1/4 on there if you wanted to. All right. I do have some of these little dies. I'm wondering maybe I should maybe I will put something over here. What do I have? Extra suns. Or I just leave it. Yeah, I may just leave it for now. Maybe just do one little there. Since it's already die cut, might as well use it. All right, and then my front of my card, I already, just to save on time, I already die cut my scenery. So basically what I did, so this is still going to be like, what did I say? It was 4 1/4 by, or 4 by 5 1/4 is my end result basically. And so this one I was taking these were all Light and Wonder, except for this grass, I think was from the Journey, or Scenic Adventure. So this die here is the one that I used to cut my water. So that's that one. And then this die, of course, did my trees. And then we've got, these are the cloud dies that I had used. And then it also has a nice, this can be the mountains when it's cut this way. I think that's what I got over here. I can kind of show you what it looks like. So this comes together. So when I die cut it, I was doing it like this. So then you can use, this can be your mountains, or you can use the top piece and turn it around, you know, or you can do it this way. I mean, so it doesn't really matter. It can look like a hill, but that's kind of what that piece does for cutting. And then there's just a nice kind of swooping line, kind of like a hill. And then again, mountaintops. And then these are the trees that I did on the inside. So it's got really nice scenic building dies in this set. And then we also have the coordinating sayings, which I think I was going to use, try and put that on here if it fits. I don't know if that'll, oh yeah, I probably should have stamped that. Oh yeah, well, I can do that later on it. So, but let's build our scene here. I did want to add on my sun, I was going to do a little bit of sponging if it'll let me. Oh yeah, because I've got all this taped together. Okay. So we know this is going to come down first, so I might as well put this piece on. This is another great way of using up your scraps. So we've got, this is our sky. And of course you hear the little pitter-patter of Ezera up above me. It's about time for her walk. It's so nice outside right now. I'm so ready for spring. All right, now I'm going to add a little bit of sponging on my sun just to give it some depth here. So this is that Timid Tiger, which is a new in color. And so I'm just going to do a little bit of sponging on the edges here. Just for some texture and some depth. And then we'll wipe this off really quick. And then we'll do the same thing on our lake. Oh, I think this is where I was going to maybe do my stamping. I think I was thinking of doing, if it would fit. Let me just see if this will let me. All depends on if I can fit this and still see my little fox. Yeah, I may have to bring that down. Okay, we're going to try it. We'll see how I do. So again, this is from the Light and Wonder. So I'm going to do the saying first. So it's going to be, may your day be filled with, and then we'll do the wonder. So I'm trying to get this. I have to. Get as close to the top as I can. And then we'll do the wonder. And this is in Blueberry Bushel, and then this is Balmy Blue cardstock. There we go. Yay. All right. Clean those really quick. And then I am just going to take the Balmy Blue, and where's my, it's going to show you. Start knocking stuff off my desk. So when you die cut, you know, you get that other piece taken off. You can sometimes then just use this, you know, just to add a little bit of shading. But I'm just wondering, I don't know if I want that on there or not. Maybe just do a little bit. So I'm just going to do it very lightly. So this is kind of my mask. So I'm going to start on the mask and then just kind of lightly bring it over onto my bottom cardstock. Nothing too dark. But then you're getting that little bit of kind of shading when you do that. So you can always use your other scraps to do as masks with these die cuts, which is kind of fun. All right, so then we can go ahead and glue. Now this is where I need to check my alignment. That's coming in there. Oh, perfect. Yay, it worked. Okay, so we can go ahead and put our sun down. Trees. So this is Old Olive, so it's just a little bit lighter than the Mossy Meadow card base. Hold those down, just make sure they stay. Sometimes I take like a wood or my Stampin' blocks just to press down, just to keep that in place. And then I think I will do a little bit of Wink of Stella just along the edges here, just to give it a little bit of sparkle. I've been trying to stock up on my masculine cards so that I'm always not struggling at the last minute when I need to make one for somebody. Okay. So this is from that designer series paper, the Nature Walk. And then this one I had just done a little die cutting from the Scenic Adventure. This was kind of the, this like grassy hill. That's what I just die cut on that designer series paper. And on this one I was going to have my fox. He'll be on there, so. And he'll still fit in there, so we can go ahead. And then how's my bulk? Not too bad. So I think I'm actually going to pop him up on a dimensional. So he'll stay in place better. And then with the legs, I do tend to, so they're supported. I just kind of cut the edges off of my dimensionals. Or you can use our foam strips, but like what I like about our dimensionals is you can use the entire package. So there's no waste, which is kind of nice. So this is just going on his feet just so that they don't get bent. Oh, that one went flying across my desk. Oh yeah, and today it was kind of cool. So we have a white squirrel that is living in our big tree out front. So he was out this morning eating the birdseed, of course. But I'm like, okay, you're a white squirrel. That's okay. The albino. I thought it was kind of cool. I used to see one years ago when I would go on my trail walks, but I haven't seen one in our neighborhood in a long time. There's a black one that we see a lot. But yeah, seeing that white squirrel was kind of cool. All right, so there's our little fox. And on him, so I did stamp him with Cajun Craze, and then I just took a little dauber. So while the ink was still on the stamp, then I just dabbed the black on there just to give my fox his little black feet and the tip of his tail black on there, just for some dimension on him as well. All right, so there is the shaker box using 2 pieces of cardstock to make your shaker box, or shadow box, and then it's got the shaker card element on the inside. And then again, I'll stamp something in there and stuff. So there's that. Super cute. Love it. So easy. And it's a good masculine card. Okay, so now the next one we are going to do using a 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock. And I'm using that two-tone cardstock just because it's a little bit thinner. And on this one, you're going to get 2 cards out of 1 sheet. So you will need, of course, a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So, like I said, this is the two-tone cardstock. So I'm using Blackberry Bliss. And I think I was going to plan on... Do I want the lighter or the darker? Let's see here. I think I may do the darker side. Yeah, I'm going to do the darker side. Or, no, I think I am going to do the lighter side. We're going to do the lighter side. Okay, so since we are, so it basically needs to be 5.5 by 12. But I'm going to cut off, oops, not here. Now we'll just leave it. We'll leave it straight as it is. Okay, so first thing you want to do is we're going to score. I'm looking for my scoring tool. Here we go. So I'm going to score it straight. You know, it's like 12 by 12. So I'm going to score at 1/2 inch all the way down. And then we're going to do 4, all the way down, 4.5 all the way down, and then we'll do 8. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that was off camera there. And then 8 inches all the way down. All right, so now we're going to turn it so we can cut it. So now we're going to rotate it, and we're going to cut so that we get 2 pieces at 5.5. So you're going to cut one at 5.5, and you'll just have to trim off the other one a 1/2 inch. So it's not as long. So we've got 5.5. So there's our one card. So that's 5.5 by 12. And then we'll just trim off a 1/2 inch. Or not a 1/2 inch, but 5.5. 1 inch. So now you've got 2 cards, and again, you can use this for other things. So we just need the one right now, but that's how, again, how you can do it with just one sheet of paper. All right, so same concept on this one. This is going to be the piece, this is going to be our shadow box, basically, is on this right edge, okay? This is our card front, so we're going to bring that one in. Oops, let's see here. There we go. Checking to see how this comes in. There we go. That'll be attached, and then this folds in like so. There. And like I said, sometimes you may need to trim just a titch off of this 1/2 inch section, just so that you can fold your card over. But I was just making sure that if I really wanted this lighter shade on my front, I think I will be okay. Yeah, I do like that. All right, so that's it. The front, again, is at 4 by 5.25. Or I'm sorry, not 4, sorry, 3 3/4 by 5.25. If you want to do one full sheet of designer series paper. I'm using 2 different patterns. So I've got one that is 1 by 5.25, and then the larger one is 2 3/4 by 5.25, instead of doing just one full sheet, because I was using up some scraps. So that'll be my front. So this one, like I said, this is a little bit narrower. Does it end up being narrower? Yeah, so it's a little bit narrower than your one that was using 2 pieces of cardstock. Then for the shadow box part, this needs to be 3 1/4 by 5.25. And then for my greeting, and again, I'm using cardstock for that because I want to give it a little bit of stability, because this is the 2-tone. This is going to be 3 1/4 by 5.25. And again, sometimes you may need to trim just a titch off of this edge, depending on where this attaches. You know, if it's not over, or if it's needs to be trimmed a little bit, you may just need to trim just a little bit off of that, the long edge on there. But otherwise, you know, I said 3 1/4 by 5.25 for that inside greeting. All right, so for our shadow box, since this one, what I want to show you is how I'm doing, where we've got the 2, you're getting that matte with the frame. So I'm using the Archway dies, and these are, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're the 5th and 6th largest ones that are in there. So on your designer series paper, you are going to die cut with the larger die, and you're going to do that on the designer series paper. So this is where you want to make sure that your whatever die that you're using, that it fits with your designer series paper. So again, I'm just kind of, you know, centering this, and we're just going to put a little bit of washi tape there just to hold that in place. And then we'll die cut this. And so when you die cut this part, again, you can use, depending on what your pattern paper is, you know, you can use that on the front if you want, or use it for on another project. So we're just going to die cut our frame first. And then we need to die cut our shadow box. So again, now this piece comes out, we can use that on the front or we can use it for another project. I'm just going to set it aside for now. So that was the larger of the two dies. Now on the card base, I'm going to use the smaller die. And this is where I do like to, I'm just going to get this out of the way, so I'm going to glue this down before I die cut it. I found it was easier if I go ahead and attach. So again, when we're looking at our card, we've got that 1/2 inch edge. This is where our shadow box is. So we want to put our designer series paper on this part. And this is that celebratory Sips designer series paper. So it's got, you know, like the little drinks, and then it also has this really pretty floral and some of these just kind of neutral pattern, kind of textured. It's really a pretty pack of paper. And again, that's in that Last Chance online. Okay, so now that's attached. Now we're going to take the smaller frame, and this is where you need to open up your card so you're not die cutting through your other pieces. And again, I'm just making sure that that is centered, and then I will hold that down with some washi tape or low tack tape, and then we will bring this in. Oh, here it is. So we can make our shadow box. And I'm just going to go backwards just so that I don't have to run my entire card through that die cutting machine. All right, and that is all we're done with that. And again, this piece you can use either on the front, or you can use it on another project. Set it aside. Okay, so now let's go ahead and assemble this. And again, we're going to need our tear and tape. Okay, so on this one, now we're going to flip this over. So your shadow box is always going to be on your right hand side. Now this one we only need to do one strip of just tear and tape because this is all attached. So you're just going to put tear and tape on this 1/2 inch section. But before I attach that, I like to do, you know, stuff in here first because it just makes it a little bit easier to manage. So I was going to do, let's see here, where did it, I have to find my pieces. Oh, I've got way too many things on my desk right now. Well, where did that go? I'm just going to use, no, I may have to cut another sheet. I must not have cut a sheet of paper for it because I wanted to do a designer series paper inside there. And it looks like I did cut one. So we get to pick one out. Let's see here. How did I cut it? All right, so we've got that on the front, more of the drinky drinks. So maybe we can do a little, that's what I was gonna do. I've got one of these left. Okay, let me, real quick, off screen, I'm just going to take, let's see, I think I will do, because that's the flowers. I mean, I guess I could use the flowers. We'll just do the flowers. We'll just call it good. We'll do the flowers. Yeah, I think I want my drinks. I know, I changed my mind. All right, I'm going to real quick die cut. So this is the larger die that I'm going to do. And I'm going to try and... I'm going to grab some of those. So let me die cut this really quick. Okay, otherwise it would have just bugged me. I don't. All right, so we'll go ahead. And we're not doing a shaker card on this one. So we're just going to build a little scenery on here. So again, I'm just kind of looking at like where my frame is. And then I just, because this is a little bit larger than, that looks pretty good. So we'll just glue this down. And again, you can just do a full sheet of designer series paper back here. This would then be this middle section. You would need a piece to be like 3 1/4 by 5 1/4 if you just wanted to do a full sheet instead of just doing a die cut. There we go. Now these are, what's fun about this celebratory sips stamp set and die. So, and then this paper, it's really cool. So some of the pattern paper, it has these shapes. So you can just take your stamp, and I stamped it so that it was just above. So it looks like, you know, this was my liquid in my glass. You can also then, some of these little, like the berries and the blackberries, you can stamp on here so you don't have to worry about coloring. Then you can just die cut these all out. So I've already kind of done my glasses. I've already done that. And then the other new set that is coming out in March, this was that made, sorry, excuse me, made with sweetness dies. And so this, you've got dies that make your fruit. So you've got your strawberry, you've got your grapes, you've got your oranges. This could be a blueberry, it could be a cherry tomato, these can be lemons. And then, oh, there's a cherry. And then these little guys do from the stamp set, the bumblebee and the ladybug gets die cut out. And then it has like these really cool like little file folders. You know, if you're doing like recipe cards. I was also going to be using these to use as my stamp dividers for my, when I go to store my stamp sets. I was going to use that for my die cutting to make my own file folders. But yeah, so this set has some really fun sayings, and it's got all the little drinks and accessories and the glasses that go with it. So I've already kind of done my little glass and my grape. So I had done, oh, these are so cute. I had done Berry Burst, and then I did Blackberry Bliss. And then I've got Old Olive or I've got Lemon Lime Twist. And I probably will do the Lemon Lime just for a little bit more of a contrast. So let's go ahead and, oh, it's right in front of me. Oh boy. I know. I'm trying to hurry. All right, so then this just gets attached right on top. I mean, this could be a blackberry, it could be grapes, it could be mulberries, raspberries. So it's kind of a neat contrast. And then I also have already die cut. And then this is the strawberry. I thought this strawberry was super cute. So you've got the solid part, then you've got the top layer that's got the little holes in it for like the seeds, and then you've got your little topper. Isn't that cute? I love it. So adorable. But I've already die cut I've stamped all this, I've die cut everything just to help save on. So it die cuts all these little berries, these little flowers on it, so it's kind of fun. I know I'm going to say, actually I'm going to get my Blackberry Bliss ink pad. We'll stamp cheers on here. And then I also wanted to stamp my like ice cubes in here, and I'm going to do those in the Blackberry Bliss as well. And then I'm just going to flip it around. And then I'm going to clean it. And then I'm only going to ink up one of them. And then that's going to go on the top. So I've got my little ice cubes in my glass. And then we'll do our cheers. So I've already kind of die cut on my Lemon Lime Twist. We'll just stamp. Whoops, I got to get that all the way inked up. There we go. Do cheers. And I'm planning on kind of tucking this behind, so I'm just going to stamp a little bit farther over to the left, not straight centered, because I'm going to tuck this banner underneath the glass. And do I need any other? I think I could put that over now. That. I could just do it this way. I may just do it that way. That'll be kind of cute. And then if I stuck my cheers here, yeah, I think that's what I'll do. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue because this is going to be tucked right underneath. So it kind of gives it that little bit of depth. And then I do want, and I'm wondering if they are here. I had my gems sitting out. Hold on, I gotta grab them. Gotta have some gems. Let's see, what do we want? I think we'll do some of these. I'll just use those up. These were from that Light and Wonder bundle. We're going to go ahead and attach our grape. I mean, it's probably more of a berry, but I'm calling them grapes. That on the top. Just for stability, because this is going to be overhanging, because this is already here, I'm just going to layer this behind just for a little bit of contrast and just to give me a little support, because I'm going to have this hanging over the edge. Just put that on the corner. All right, and then we can go ahead and leave that. Just some gems here in the background. I think I'll do one there. And maybe one of these pink ones. Oh, so sorry for the squeaky. Our floors are so squeaky above me. Again, I'm in the basement, and so it's like our wood floor right by the front door. It's like super noisy. And we'll put one right up here. Cute. All right, so now we can go ahead and attach this part onto our card base, the inside part. So again, this is where I'm keeping this closed. So my edge is right on the crease of my card, the card front, and I'm just going to close this shut. And now our shadow box is attached to that inside of the card. All right, and so I want, because this is kind of a little bit of flimsy here, I was going to do my inside cardstock, and this one was 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. And I was going to just stamp, because this is all going to go on my front, I believe. Because I find it's a little bit easier if you stamp this now before you where's my cheers? I've got cheers, and maybe I will have to just kind of leave it. Yeah, because I don't have any good sayings here right off the top of my... I guess I could just do this really quick. We'll just have to color it. Let's see. Let's do... So then the other way of coloring this in, you can just take your water painter You could take your Stampin' blends if you've got them. Actually, oh, I've got the Stampin' blends here. Let's just do that. So we'll just color this in. So I've got Blackberry Bliss and Berry Burst, light and dark. So I think I'll start with a little bit of the light Berry Burst. Just to kind of fill in our drink here. And then I've got my Fresh Freesia. I'll just use this more for blending. Again, you can just use your aqua painters with some ink refills if you don't have the Stampin' blends. All right, we'll blend this in a little bit better. And then this is the light Blackberry Bliss. So a lot of it's just kind of going back and forth, just kind of blending the colors how you want them. I'm a scribble and blend kind of gal. There's other people who are way better at watercoloring than I am. That'll work. Kind of go maybe back in a little bit more with the darker. Just for our bottom of our glass. Love it. And we'll do our little skewer stick. Just do that in black. Here, then we can cover up. That can go there. Let's add some ice cubes again. Let's do those in the Blackberry Bliss. I'll just put a few in here. Like so. Cute. And I've got one little blackberry here, or raspberry, whatever this is, just to cover up my ink blending. That got a little haywire. All right. And we can attach this. Right inside of our card. Oh yeah, and that fit perfect. So I didn't need to trim it. So yeah, this was that 3 1/4 by 5 1/4. All right, then our front of our card. I had already, excuse me, these were, it needed to be 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. But again, I've got a 1 inch by 5 1/4, and then I've got 2 3/4. So these could just be taped down. Oh, Miss Ezra, she's getting a little sassy up there. Oh yeah, 3:30. As she's, she's like, what, 14, almost 14, and yeah, she's wanting to eat earlier and earlier. It's like 3:30. She wants her dinner. The early bird special. Okay, and then for our front of our card, I'll probably just decorate this later because I'm not quite sure now with my how I want to do it. So I will post a picture at the end of what my finished card looks like on the front here. But anyway, so that is doing your shadow box using that 12 by 12 one full, half a sheet basically to make your shadow box. And then the other way, of course, was doing it with the two pieces of cardstock and then adding a shaker card inside of there. So anyway, really fun to do. And like I said, these are nice, it's a nice flat card, even with that shaker in there. It doesn't do a lot of bulk. And it's a nice little surprise to give somebody. And they can set it up on their mantle, to be admired as an artwork. But anyway, thanks again for joining me today. If you like this video or if you want to see some other fun folds or techniques, leave me a comment. I would love to hear what you want me to demo next. And as always, have a great and creative day. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.